Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. It was said that Wookieans lived in caves and ate dirt. When they died, their hearts would not rot. Once buried, they would resurrect as men. He's truly a Wuqian? After the evil Sky Pavilion's 3 elders landed, they stared at Lu Gu. The evil Sky Pavilion disciples landed as well. Si Wuya was worried. He looked to the side and asked, "Where's eldest senior brother?" "On the flying chariot." Si Wuya's heart sank. He suddenly recalled his master saying that he wanted the elders to pay for his disciple's life. He felt a lump in his throat. Mr. Seventh? Hua Chongyang bit back the pain as he walked up to Si Wuya. He supported Si Wuya, who was not looking too well at this moment. "I'm fine." Si Wuya willed himself to stand up straight. His eyes were red. When he looked at Lu Gu's body, they flashed coldly and fiercely. Swoosh. All of a sudden, Lu Gu stood up. Seemingly at the same time, the curtain-like barrier changed colors and closed. The primal chi was gone, and the air turned heavy again. The skies could hardly be seen. The 10-terminal formation had been activated again. The Academy elders who descended looked at Lu Gu's body. After twitching for a moment, Lu Gu stood up straight. He stretched his arms as though he was tied to a wooden frame. His head was lowered, and his eyes were closed. Si Wuya was slightly confused. As someone who understood Wookieans, he knew how difficult and strict the conditions were to resurrect them. If they could have come back to life so easily like Lu Gu, the Wuchi tribe would not have been so easily wiped out back then. Over a long period of time, the 10,000 tribes described in the history books had decreased by 90%. Many unique and mysterious ancient tribes had disappeared in the long river of history. There were many powerful tribes that once stood at the peak but were now gone, never to be heard of again. If one wanted to resurrect a Wuqian, they had to bury them in the soil and water them so that the body would absorb the essence of the natural world. Then, their bodies would slowly be reconstructed according to their tribe's special characteristics. Those with lesser luck would be reborn as babies, while those who were more fortunate would be reborn with their original appearance and continue on with their lives. His Majesty isn't dead? Someone laughed joyously. His Majesty isn't dead? His Majesty is alive. One of the Imperial Guards kneeled and hollered, "All hail your Majesty. May the Emperor live to see 1,000 autumns." The remaining Imperial Guards fell to their knees as well and began to chant. "All hail your Majesty. May the Emperor live to see 1,000 autumns. All hail your Majesty. May the Emperor live to see 1,000 autumns." Their voices reached the peak of the imperial city. Outside the divine capital, the cultivators who initially wanted to head in to watch the show could only stare helplessly at the 10-terminal formation's curtain-like barrier. The statement that the Imperial Guards were invincible inside the 10-terminal formation was not baseless. That was a painful lesson learned from the gruesome deaths experienced by countless men inside the divine capital. The cultivators outside the divine capital could not see what was happening inside the city. They could only climb up tall trees to try and have a look. Some of the cultivators with better hearing heard the cheers of the Imperial Guards and sighed. The evil Sky Pavilion is in a pickle now. The divine capital isn't a pushover. Over the years, many experts had attempted to establish their own factions inside the divine capital. Yet, they perished under the Imperial Guard. Such a shame to see the evil Sky Pavilion and the Nether Sect, the greatest fiend sect, suffer the same fate. Inside the divine capital. In front of the imperial city. Lu Gu suddenly looked up. His eyes snapped open. They were lifeless. Creak. The bones on his neck seemed to have suddenly connected, and his eyes found their target. His memories returned to him as the scenes played out before his eyes. Lu Gu surveyed his surroundings. He looked at the divine capital, the imperial city, the 10-terminal formation's curtain-like barrier, the Imperial Guards, the Academy's elders, and his dragon robes. He had returned to life. Lu Gu inhaled deeply before he looked ahead at the Nether Sect members, Si Wuya, and Hua Chongyang. I'm back. All hail your majesty. Long live the emperor. All hail your majesty. Long live the emperor. Lu Gu could not help but feel moved by such a spectacle. Master. He's really alive. Ming Shi'in exclaimed in shock. Although he knew that Wookieans could come back to life, he was still stunned when he witnessed it with his eyes. To think that there was a race with such a miraculous talent in this world. The Imperial Guards were, naturally, unaware of this matter. They only thought the Emperor did not die and was just getting back on his feet. 8 Academy elders kneeled immediately. Your Majesty, please bring us justice. The dust settled. Lu Zhou had seen enough. He had stayed his hand because he wanted anything to see a Wuqian being restored to life. He might glean some clues from it, and in turn, help him heal Zhenghai. Lu Gu turned around and swept his eyes across everyone until they finally landed on an old man standing before the Imperial Guards. The Evil Sky Pavilion's 3rd disciple stood in front of the old man. He chuckled, clearly unafraid. The Evil Sky Pavilion's Ji Tiandao. Lu Gu did not let his guard down. He took several steps back. He raised a palm and instinctively circulated his primal chi. It was empty. He had forgotten the 10-terminal formation had been reactivated. Nobody under the heavens could see the Evil Sky Pavilion's old villain Ji and remain calm. Even Emperor Lu Gu was no exception. He retreated into the ranks of Imperial Guard before he took a deep breath to calm down. Then, he said, you forego the road to heaven and chose to barge into hell. Old villain Ji, I'll end your life today. He spread his arms and continued to say, all beings are equal inside the 10-terminal formation. Imperial Guard, heed my command. Take down old villain Ji, and you'll be handsomely rewarded. Swoosh. The Imperial Guards straightened their bodies and raised their halberds. Tens of thousands of Nether Sect members straightened their bodies in response. Protect the Patriarch. Protect the Patriarch. They were not stupid. If something were to happen to the Patriarch, they would all die. The simplest way to protect the Patriarch was to charge collectively. Once the time limit was over, the Patriarch would be unrivaled. Si Wuya shook his head and sighed. Alas, we missed the best opportunity to kill Lu Gu. The 8 elders stood on the side of the Imperial Guards. The remaining Imperial Guards inside the city were mobilized as well. Duanmu Sheng acted as though he was facing a great enemy as he said, Master, stand back. With eldest senior brothers tens of thousands of members, we're sure to win. However, Lu Zhou calmly said, stand down. Master? Lu Zhou did not respond. Duanmu Sheng was perplexed, but he did dare to question his master. He obediently stepped to the side. Lu Zhou stood before the Imperial Guards below the Imperial City. They were all mortals at this moment. If the Imperial Guards were to charge at this moment, nobody would be able to stop them. Killing old villain Ji came with a glory that was hard to resist. You want to kill me? Lu Zhou looked at the Imperial Guards. His deep-set eyes were filled with disdain. That's right. We're going to kill you. If not now, then when? Lu Gu waved his arm. Hundreds of Imperial Guards swarmed toward Lu Zhou. They raised their halberds and charged at him. The Nether Sect members charged as well. Duanmu Sheng's expression changed slightly. He brandished his overlord's spear, intending to advance, but Lu Zhou barred his path with an arm. The eyes of the 17 elders gleamed with anticipation. Even if they could not wipe out the Nether Sect entirely, the Imperial family would still win if they could kill the greatest villain in the world. For a time, everyone held their breaths. The Imperial Guards drew closer and closer. Just when the Imperial Guards were almost upon Lu Zhou. Even if you have 10,000 lives, it won't be enough to make up for my disciple's life. If I can kill you once, I can kill you again. Lu Zhou raised his hand and pushed it out. He did not want to drag the battle out. Instead, he attacked decisively without holding back and launched an impressive palm strike. The blue palm seal was not huge, but it was as tall as a man. Boom. The Great Blitz treasure seal easily struck the Imperial Guards' faces and sent hundreds of them flying. The palm seal continued on its trajectory. The Imperial Guards who were hit were sent flying back without any exception. In just a blink of an eye, it was in front of Lu Gu. How did he conjure a palm seal inside the 10-terminal formation? How is this possible? Lu Gu raised his hands. Boom. Lu Gu's arms were as fragile as a newborn. They cracked and snapped as the palm seal hit his chest. It stuck to his body and pushed him backward at top speed. Boom. Lu Gu crashed against the city wall. The palm seal faded away. Lu Gu was spread eagle, stuck on the wall. His eyes were filled with fear and trepidation. The Nether Sect members in the Imperial City, the 17 elders, and the neutral cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the situation were thoroughly shocked. Many present on the scene thought that their eyes were deceiving them. They were certain they were hallucinating. They rubbed their eyes before they looked again. The palm print on the wall was very clear. Emperor Lu Gu was embedded in the wall with an expression of despair on his face. The entire place was deadly silent at this moment. The silence was almost palpable, it was difficult to breathe. Their ears rang from the silence. After a moment, the same thought appeared in everyone's mind: how did he unleash a palm seal in the 10-terminal formation? What happened to all beings being equal inside the 10-terminal formation? What happened to everyone becoming ordinary when there was no primal chi? What happened to fighting with blades and brute force? Was that all a lie? Some people came to the conclusion that the formation was somehow damaged, so they tried to circulate their primal chis. Alas, there was nothing. There was no primal chi regardless of how hard they tried. What was a cultivator with the power from his cultivation base like in a crowd of mortals? Inside the 10-terminal formation, he was like God. Still stuck on the wall, Lu Gu coughed. The noise brought everyone back to the present. A hint of hope flickered faintly in the Imperial Guards' hearts. However, they despaired when they looked up and saw another blue palm seal sailing in the air. It was also a Great Blitz treasure seal. Lu Gu had just opened his eyes when he saw another blue palm seal flying toward him. I will live. Its speed and route were similar to the previous attack, and it landed on Lu Gu's face again. Bam! A loud explosion rang in the air before it fell deadly silent again. With this palm strike, Lu Gu died. How was he supposed to live? There was nothing a palm strike could not solve. If it could not be solved with one palm strike, then all that was needed was another palm strike. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 2,500 merit points. When he heard this notification, Lu Zhou looked up slightly at Lu Gu. With Lu Gu's death, he did not suffer too much of a loss. The deadly strike card was now 10,000 merit points each. He killed Lu Gu twice, which was akin to spending 5,000 merit points. The strike at the lake had undoubtedly killed Lu Gu. Then, he came back to life again. This should be his second life. It was wasted just like that. Perhaps, I should do it again. Lu Zhou muttered to himself. Duanmu Sheng was puzzled. Master. I think Lu Gu is really dead this time. He doesn't even look anything like himself now. His body is completely destroyed. I mean, there's a possibility he might come back to life again. You should never let your guard down. Swoosh. When Duanmu Sheng heard Lu Zhou's words, he immediately lifted his overlord spear again and pointed at Lu Gu. In fact, Lu Zhou simply came up with an excuse to cover up what was meant to be his inner monologue. There was no way Lu Gu could come back to life. Lu Zhou stepped forward and looked at the Imperial Guards. The Imperial Guards did not hesitate and threw their weapons away immediately, frightened out of their wits. They did not even dare to meet Lu Zhou's eyes. Lu Zhou looked at the Sky Conduct Academy's elders. Continue. One of the elders broke down instantly. He charged over and shouted, I don't believe this. I don't believe this. This is all a nightmare. I must be dreaming. To the surprise of the others, the elder was really bold enough to charge toward Zhou. Zhou lifted his hand again. Bam! The elder reeled back. Zhou did not even deign to look at him. He looked at the others fiercely. Does anyone else have a problem? Anyone with a brain knew that it would be foolish to charge forward now. They were not even a match for Zhou when their cultivation bases were not restricted. How could they be a match for him now that they were no different from mortals? The remaining elders slowly retreated. The neutral cultivators fell to the ground immediately. They cowed out and begged for mercy. Zhou did not sympathize with them. When Zhenghai attacked the divine capital, he must have given them a choice. If they were bold enough to covet glory and riches, they would have to have the resolve to lose their lives should they fail. There was no such thing as a free meal under the heavens. Zhou waved his arm. Take them down. The Nether Sect's branch master, Zhenghai, was invigorated. He immediately said, understood. Then, he turned around and shouted, take them down. Under Zhou's watchful eyes, the neutral cultivators did not resist. They were all tied up. Similarly, the Sky Conduct Academy elders had completely lost all will to fight back. They lay limply on the ground. Since you're not going to end your lives, you'll all be beheaded. Zhenghai said again, cut them down. Dozens of Nether Sect disciples swarmed forward. The Sky Conduct Academy elders had no choice but to submit to their fates. Inside the eyes of the formation on the Imperial City's peak, the 10 elders from the Big Dipper Academy were filled with regret at this moment. They regretted not listening to President Zhou's words. At this juncture, they could hardly turn back since they were already on the tiger's back. Regardless if it was pressing forward or backing off, it did not bode well for them at all. The 10 of them exchanged a glance before they left the eyes of the formation at the same time. Wuya had been keeping an eye on them, so he called out, Master. Zhou looked at the peak of the Imperial City. The long-robed cultivators were already gone. He looked at the Imperial Guards coldly and stepped forward. The Imperial Guards retreated. There was no primal chi inside the 10-terminal formation. Hence, they could not run far nor could they leave the 10-terminal formation's barrier. At this moment, Duanmu raised his overlord's spear and stabbed the ground. Dong. Duanmu brute strength alone was shocking enough. Having trained under the waterfall for a long time, he was braver than most men. He shouted, the Dog Emperor, Lu Gu, is dead. You're still trying to resist? At this moment, Wuya walked out, past the crowd, and stood by Zhou's side. With a clear voice, he said, actually, he's not your emperor. Wuya would not rest until he revealed this shocking revelation. The real Lu Gu died a long time ago. This person is an imposter. The imperial family and their officials valued birthright and bloodline over everything else. Someone cried out hoarsely, impossible. That can't be true. Hold them back. Fight. Zhou continued walking toward the gates of the Imperial City. The Imperial Guard's standing guard retreated again. When they were near the path, they were pressed tightly against each other. Zhou struck with his palm again. A blue palm shot out in the air. Everyone watched with wide eyes as the palm seal flew toward the Imperial Guards. Boom. When the palm seal landed, it resembled the scene where corn was cooked and popped. The 100 Imperial Guard soldiers in the path were sent flying into the wall. With lightning movements, Zhou strode into the Imperial City and stomped his feet. Boom. A light circle appeared under Zhou's feet and rippled out. The floorboards around him were uprooted immediately. Nearly 1,000 Imperial Guards were sent flying by the impact. Everyone froze when they saw this. Zhou rested his hands on his back. He looked nonchalant as he stood among the Imperial Guards. Shortly after, the Imperial Guards fell from the sky like rain. Bam. 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 They crashed on the shattered limestone floor with a loud explosion. They could not even withstand a single blow. The Nether Sect members watched this scene excitedly. How thrilling and exciting. Inside the 10-terminal formation, the Patriarch of the Evil Sky Pavilion was like God. Follow the Patriarch. In the hearts of the Nether Sect members, Zhou was currently as invincible as God. At this time, the other Nether Sect disciples entered the Imperial City as well. The towering palaces and buildings, they occupied everything. The Nether Sect disciples were well trained. They entered the Imperial City in neat rows and marched rhythmically. They swarmed toward the Evergreen Palace, the Eternal Palace, the Dajing Palace, and the Zhenghai Palace. The Nether Sect had successfully reached the divine capital. At this moment, with the Evergreen Palace in the center and the other palaces at the sides, a golden formation seal glowed. It resembled an 8 gates formation seal. Formation inside a formation, the 8 gates formation seal. Wuya ran forward. Zhou pushed away from the ground lightly. He hovered in the air with a cold expression on his face. The 8 gates formation seal within the 10-terminal formation was like a translucent sky curtain with golden floral patterns. It was exceptionally brilliant. The others looked up again. Zhou flew to the center of the 8 gates formation seal. To gain the power to silence everything, to maintain and manifest samadhi. Like light and shadow, permeating everywhere while staying still in samadhi. A blue lotus blossomed.